All right. Well, the next 30 minutes or so that we're going to spend, or 25 minutes or so, we're going to talk about communication. So we're going to talk a little bit about the GBA communications capabilities, our processes, and how you can participate in all that. So let me start off. We've got with us Rick Robinson and Brian Feinberg. We got a lot of ground to cover. So Rick and Brian, I'm going to let you guys just maybe unmute. Let's do this a little bit like a panel kind of thing, and I'll go ahead and turn my my video on as well. So first of all, Rick and Brian, why don't you introduce yourselves briefly? Just tell them quickly about your background. Then I want to talk to them a little bit about the process in terms of how we do communications, and then specifically I want to talk about Rick. Have you talk about the podcast? Brian, I'd like to have you talk about our press release capabilities and how people can plug in, and then I'll sort of round it up with everything else. So, Rick, why don't you introduce yourself, followed by Brian?
Okay, sure. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. I'm Rick Robinson. I come from a long and fairly successful career in the area of startups as well as large corporations, but focusing pretty heavily on encryption and key management. Done 4 startups. 2 of those are successful, 2 weren't. So pretty good rate. I currently run my own consulting company, but the large corporations I've worked for, did a stint working for the U.S. Navy in research. Worked for Avaya, which is a communications company, on their real-time voice over IP encryption. And then most recently completed quite a few years with IBM as the senior offering manager for their encryption and key management business, where we managed and developed quite a number of products, now that I think about it. But anyway, I've spoken all the way around the world at security conferences, of course, in front of a bazillion customers, sales leaders, business partners, and the like. And like I said, I'm running my own little consulting firm these days, which is wonderful. But I've had the pleasure to take over the reins as the host for the future of money governance and the law for the Government Blockchain Association.
Awesome. And we'll talk more about that here in a few minutes. Brian, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, excellent. So thank you, Gerard, and thank you for everybody for showing up today on a Saturday afternoon, wherever you are. These are important discussions that we're having right now. Hopefully they will instigate.
And Brian, I just want to let you know, so we've got the folks here in the, this is essentially the green room. We also have about 100 people in the auditorium as well.
Understood. Thank you very much. So I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. I'm a licensed investment banker. I hold my 763 and 79. I've maintained both my autonomy and my sanity over the last 12 years of being a registered person and understanding compliance and helping drive regulatory compliance across the initiatives that we're involved in. In 2014, I kind of bumped into the blockchain space serendipitously. I was tracking venture capital deployments of some pretty smart people like Peter Thiel and Mark Andreessen. And this blockchain thing started to pop up, and I started to get curious. And I spent about a year mapping the industry out and watching how that, I would say, the innovation that was driving both the technology as well as the adoption was moving at a faster pace than investors could throw money at it. And that generated and created an advisory and development business that we started in 2017. So I founded Ethera Labs, really to work and help early stage companies navigate both compliance as well as dealing with real market understanding of kind of how this market affects the products that they were trying to take to market. In turn, we created a data platform and a data engine, which we will share with you today, called Plato. And that was the intersection that we got involved with Gerard and the entire GBA team, was because of our capabilities across digital syndication and the ability to touch hundreds of thousands of people every single week with the way that we curate our data and our content. We've created a product for the GBA community. And that product will be released very shortly after our commercial release, which is going to take place in about a week. So we're very excited to be here. We take a very proactive approach in terms of using technology as a means of communication in a compliant way. And you'll see through a little demo that I'll do for you later today how it can affect not only GBA, but all the companies in the directory.
Awesome. Thank you. And I also have Kathy with me. Kathy's part of our communications team. We actually have a fairly large communications team with Rick, with Brian. We've got a guy named Glenn who's been with IBM for, I don't know, Rick, 20, 25 years.
Right.
And he's been very involved in their brand, social media, marketing. We have Raj Shah, who's the vice president of Fox Communications, that has Fox News, Fox Business, Fox Entertainment. We've got Evan Harris. We've got a fairly large team. So today, what I want to do is explain to you a little bit about how the process works. So as a GBA community, how do GBA members and leaders access these capabilities? And then I want to tell you a little bit about what we can do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here. So here is the first step in, here's the GBA site. Underneath association, if you come down here to testimonials and feedback, and we're having an issue with this site. So if it doesn't load, you just have to reload it. I don't know why, but hopefully that'll get fixed soon. Anyway, under association, you hit testimonial feedback. That'll get you to this form. If you complete this form, if you have some news that you want to get out, a product release, an event that you're doing, anything like that, you fill out this form. The other option is to put it on the events on the calendar page. So when you're logged in under events, you can go here to add event, or in this black bar where it says plus new, you can add either a post or an event. I'm an admin, so it shows me a bunch of other stuff. So the bottom line is you want to get your news and information either on our calendar, on a post, and then when you fill this form out, what ends up happening is it sends a ticket to our communications team. If you create an event, then what happens is Kyle, who's on our support team, every week he reviews the upcoming events, and he's going to post those events on our meetup groups and different things like that. So I'm going to walk through what some of those capabilities are. If you want to promote yourself through a speaking event or a podcast, then all of our events have most of our events have a link to a speaker volunteer form. But if you just type in the word speaker into the search bar, you should get the speaker volunteer form right here. And when you hit the speaker volunteer form, you can volunteer to speak at events that we have on the calendar, right? Or a podcast, right? So if you hit podcast interview, right, and put in your information, submit, then Rick, I'm going to let you take it from there. So talk to them a little bit about how they can get their word out through our podcast, how you do it. Just kind of walk them through that process a bit.
Sure. So it all starts with this form, pretty simple, just a few questions. And then what happens once you submit that is that gets turned into an email that I receive, and then I'll reach out to you. We'll set up time for what I call a pre-call. It takes about 15 minutes, and we just kind of go through kind of what to expect when recording a podcast. We set a date and a time for it, and then I tell you a little bit about what else we might need from the information you supplied in the form. We exchange a little bit of information across email, and then the day comes where we record the podcast. It's a real easy and actually kind of a fun thing to do. We can see each other. It's recorded over the internet, but the video is not recorded intentionally. It's a podcast, but the audio is. And then we just have a conversation. We go through about 5 or 6 questions that everybody knows before we go in. So there are no surprise questions. Sometimes I'll ask you, who your favorite, Marvel hero is or something like that. But for the most part, you know what the questions are. And we suit the questions in such a way where you have plenty of opportunity to talk about what you're doing in the area of blockchain. So it helps our listeners know about you, know about your organization, know about your projects and your passions. And at the end of the podcast, we make sure that anybody who's listening has your contact information. Either links to your website, to your LinkedIn profile, to your membership profile at GBA or Twitter, whatever you want to make available, and that's it. The podcasts themselves last between 30 and 40 minutes. The recording time takes a little bit longer, but definitely less than an hour, and it's not live, so there's plenty of time to re-record if you didn't get that answer just the way you wanted it. So pretty easy, pretty simple, pretty comfortable stuff.
Hey, Rick, excellent. It just occurred to me that when somebody fills out the form, we can create a notification. So if there's specific questions you need to ask them about, like, links to your, Twitter, social media, whatever. But a lot of the, if you have a message that you want to send, we can take a look at that, that automated notification, so it can streamline that process a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, we can add a few more items to it. Sure. Yeah.
Right. Sounds good. Okay, so that's that. Now, if you want to speak at an event, you put stuff on the calendar. I'm going to share with you a little bit about how we do that. I'm going to take you back to the Stratcom document. So, the Stratcom stuff is basically just kind of our it's kind of our scratch pad or notepad to get stuff out. So under news, information, and public dissemination, this is where I'll put information to stage it so that Evan Harris can put his newsletter out. So if you see something that's not in there, but you'd like to have it put out, just let me know. We'll do that, or fill out a testimonial feedback form. In terms of the strategic priorities, and this is something that I review before we have our communications meetings, and we have a communications meeting every Wednesday, I think. So we've launched a couple new things. One is a social media campaign. So we use a product called Hootsuite, which allows us to pre-stage messages. Glenn advised us recently to be effective, we need to have 6 posts a day. So we're in the process of building out a schedule of the different things that we're going to post and when we're going to do it, right? So these things are going to go out. And then in addition to that, we have some tools where we can essentially preload messages and send messages specifically to individuals. So for example, we can do a search on LinkedIn and say, show us everybody who has blockchain in their profile that works, that has a job title of county recorder, right? If we're going to do something for, say, land titling or voting or land titling, or show me everybody that's got, we're looking to build a chapter in Yugoslavia, right? Show me everybody that's got blockchain in their profile that lives in Yugoslavia or is in a particular industry or whatever. So we can, if we have an outreach that's specifically targeted to any particular demographic or something like that, we can build those lists out. We can craft a message and have it send out. Right now, we have the capacity to send about 300 messages a day from that capacity. So that's a little bit about how we do that. When it comes to press releases, and this is where it kind of gets fun. But before we get to press releases, one more thing about events. We have built a style sheet. So for example, if you want to do a post relative to any one of these events, right? This is an open page. You can come to just look Stratcom in the search bar, come to this page. And if you hit this event style sheet, it will show you all the different logos and things like that. So it's just a great opportunity. So for the Government Blockchain Week, this is
So that's Government Blockchain Week, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Open it. I don't know if everything is in there. There's a style sheet.
Yeah. So these essentially are different, and I think these are all PowerPoints.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to build a,
So click on one, show them.
which one? How about Kryptonite?
Sure. That one's already been updated too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can I talk about this for a second?
Sure.
So the style sheet is the background. It's the yellow on the top, fading down into the black. Glenn built this. I think it's beautiful. What he told us was everything that's on this campaign, the campaign is Government Blockchain Week, has to look similar and it has to have a look about it. And a lot of the posts that I was putting out, the graphics, they weren't really connected to each other. So now that we have the style sheet for Government Blockchain Week, and this particular group hasn't been updated with, we're doing hashtag GBW 2021. I have a whole bunch of other
Right.
of those.
I'm getting back in there. Sorry.
But so since Government Blockchain Week has so many different directions it's going in, we are going to headline down each direction, and they all have that same background look with the yellow on the top fading down into the blue and the black. And then we can just put the change part right in the middle about the different parts of Government Blockchain Week, so that when people see these things coming up, and if you didn't catch it, Gerard said that, Glenn said 6 posts a day, which totally blew my mind. I thought 3 a week was good, 6 a day. So we are pumping these out, and then Brian takes them and then drops the press releases into the ether, and they go everywhere. So they have to be interesting, they have to look the same, they have to be enough that somebody will pick up on them because they're newsworthy. And that's what we're working on, so that Government Blockchain Week gets picked up.
And the hashtag that we're, oops, I put that in the wrong spot.
Yeah, it's got to be hashtag.
Yeah, it's got to be in LinkedIn as opposed to. So we're using a hashtag GBA 2021, GBW.
Government Blockchain Week.
Oh, no wonder.
GBW.
Silly man. GBW, silly. All right, GBW.
So what we're going to ask is that everyone who is listening follow this hashtag, hashtag GBW, Government Blockchain Week 2021. And then when we drop a post into our social media, you'll get a notification, and then you can pick it up and like it, follow it, whatever. These photographs here are from last year's GBW. So these are all original to GBA. And that's one of them. There's the art show, there's the attendee list, this is the pitch competition for, that's actually not GBW.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
a spy, that's the spy party.
Yeah, so if you follow, I'm following GBW 2021. Every time we put a post, you'll get
the newest update.
The newest update.
And they're coming out now more rapidly. We have 3 months until this event. And so just a little news about the outreach. We are outreaching to many different agencies, countries.
I need to move on to the next topic.
Okay.
This is not about the event. All right, now press releases. If you want us to put a press release out on your behalf, right? So recommendation number 1, you use a testimonial feedback form, but you want to talk briefly about, Kathy, the format of it, and then your process, how you get over to Brian, and then Brian can talk about how he gets it out.
Sure. Do you want to pull up that press release thing? It's in the folder under press release.
Okay, so let's take that and we'll put that in the Stratcom page so that people can get to it. But
Okay.
I'll get.
You want me to talk about that now?
No, just talk about the process. Like if somebody wants to get a press release, they reach out to you. I'll pull up this stuff. I'll pull up this.
Okay.
You'll have to tell me where it is.
Sure.
GBA.
It's in
Strategic
communication,
communication.
external, press release.
Press release and official comms.
Yeah. And then it's press release, my list right there, that one. So are you sharing the screen?
I'm sharing this screen right here.
Cool. So I just looked up how to write a press release. I went through a couple of these, how to write. Of course, you can get everything on Google. I went through several of them. This one is the best one that I found, so I'm using this one. Brian Feinberg has been gracious enough to carry my press releases. I'm still an amateur at this, but I'm getting better because we're putting out so many. And a press release has to follow this heading. What our goal is that news companies will find it interesting enough that they will pick up on it. I am reminded by Bob Miko, who's an expert, in my opinion, keep it under 300 words because people don't care about all that blah, blah, blah. And so that's difficult to keep it under 300 words, but we're learning how to do that. And then we drop it into Brian Feinberg, and then he sends it out to all of his news media. And then if it's good enough, it will get picked up by the bigger news medias because it's a gem that they want.
So we'll put a link to this in the Stratcom document so you can all have access to the bulleted list on how to write a press release. Once it goes to Brian Feinberg, Brian, do you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah. So basically,
I'll stop sharing my screen if you want to share.
Yeah, great. By the way, is this a forum for me to share Plato a little bit with everybody so they can put it in context?
Absolutely, but you got to do it as you got to do it in expeditious. I mean, there's so much for you to share.
But we're only going to be a few minutes anyway, so I'm just going to go directly into this. Hold on, please. So basically, what we did in our data development is we created a taxonomy across the industry. And we connect through Web3 hooks that allow users to safely and securely engage with thousands of DeFi apps. Part of the engagement vehicle that we've created over the last 2 years generates for us about 175,000 unique users a week across 4 different publications that, again, we have no advertising in there. It's ad free too. There's no registration, so it allows users to come freely and see Google loves us because of the way that we index this information. In fact, that we're not just doing it over blockchain, we're doing it over 26 technology verticals where the connective tissue is venture capital and private equity. So in our Plato blockchain instance, we built an entirely digital syndication machine that allows us to take press releases like we have right here, which is something that we did last month, and with a flick of a button, have that go out and get picked up by these entire news outlets. On top of the SEO optimization that we do, and Kathy, you're following a really good guideline right now, and if we adhere to that guideline, we will get better results all the time. We have about 800 publications that we are digitally connected to that allows us to syndicate newsworthy content. And again, part of that is subjective, right? Because we have to act as a filter, but we know that the quality is here in this organization as well as through its member community. So we're building a really great product here that we're using for ourselves, but at the same time, we're opening it up to our network partners. So as you can see here, this particular press release, this is not on the trades here. This is on a Bloomberg terminal that gives access to 325,000 people. Obviously, it's like any other news, unless there's some relevance there to search terms, people will probably not find it. And then we go from the institutional subscription platforms directly down into the industry publications, which currently right now we're connected to 240 blockchain publications that we're curating and pushing out approximately 1,800 republished articles a day and are indexing those across 23 languages. So when we do that and we send those sitemap submissions, that is the quality that we intend on delivering through our product. And our product is part of our platform. Our platform is Plato. You can get there at platoblockchain.com. A short little commercial on us is there. We have a video and so forth. But it really allows users to connect with DeFi applications that we've whitelisted. We have a really smart search bar there that allows us to connect to those 250 or so publications that we connect to, and we're curating all that information on a channel by channel basis. So when we get an article and we get news content, we publish it, we create anchors on it, and then boom, it goes into distribution. We do this, really, it takes us about 15 minutes to process a press release properly, going through Q&A, and within 2 hours, it's usually propagated by Google. So we're automatically on the search engine stuff. The stuff with GBA really has been about telling a story, and that story now has a little bit of a lineage, and that lineage now can be built upon new information. So we should definitely encourage the community to push as much information out as possible related to their own initiatives and their companies. And then as we formally introduce the syndication product, certainly we want to connect with the GBA audience on that. Further, we are offering out our platform now that we go in commercial, a multi-month free access to the entire GBA community, so that we can get feedback on how to improve the product and how to drive deeper connectivity to the enterprise and to touch daily.
And excellent. And Brian has just done an incredible job of getting the word out on many of our products and events and things like that. It's incredible to me how this communication team has really matured over the past just 6 months. The other thing that I want to share with you is if you haven't done it already, in fact, I'll share my screen right now. All right. So if you go to the GBA global.org. So this is Hootsuite. So what Hootsuite allows us to do is to create posts and schedule them on a variety of different platforms. So we got Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and a couple others. So we just started using this tool. We're in the process of getting it all figured out and how to use it. But if you go to,
Gerard, we're still seeing Brian's screen.
oh, sorry,
Yes.
let me do that.
I got some free commercial time there, I guess.
That's great.
Yeah,
You earned it.
this is Hootsuite, and so we can create posts on a variety of different platforms. We're still in the process of loading up the different social media platforms, and then we can schedule it on different days at different times. So we're in the process of doing that. Under the GBA global website, if you go under resources down to videos, this is where you can get to the GBA YouTube channel. So every time we do a meeting, if we do it on the GBA account or you coordinate with Jordan, it will record the content. And then what Jordan does is he goes in there and he creates high quality videos that we get out. And so now as high quality videos get put out there, we will then plan social media campaigns, press releases, different things like that to promote content on here. So we're trying to align our social media campaigns, our press release capabilities, our newsletter capabilities. We're trying to align all that stuff together and program it out so that we can get information out in a very effective manner. And I want to be careful
Gerard.
not to tie into the next speaker. Yeah.
Just two quick questions coming from the chat in the auditorium. Can you just quickly define which social media platforms we are currently posting in? And then are these platforms available, including the one that Brian was showing, available to GBA members to utilize?
So I'll answer the first question. The platforms that we're currently posting to right now is Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we've got Instagram in there, but we haven't connected and gotten it to work yet. So those are currently the platforms. I'll let Brian answer the question about the press release capabilities.
So again, we're building the product right now. It's operational, ready to go. If anybody needs to reach out to me directly, certainly I can walk you through the process and try to optimize where it is. We are coming up with a discounted pricing schema for companies here to extend beyond just the GBA distribution, which again is now very integrated through the social channels. So those backlinks become very, very valuable in terms of SEO and in terms of being able to drive more interest into the organization. So we really wanted to come out with a quality product that a startup could afford, okay? They can start to hang their digital marketing strategy on. And part of that is content and awareness. As you start to build crescendos towards events that you are moving into from the digital world now into a real event in September, right? On the Blockchain Washington week, we really have an opportunity over the next couple months is to generate a lot of online interest in what's going on, which is about brand building right now. And we want to be able to apply that expertise and knowledge that we have to help companies that are driving similar objectives to ours, which is commercial adoption, regulatory compliance, and frankly, a whole different economy that, we've all, I guess, have had the pleasure of participating in over the last couple of years. So, we're kind of hitting a golden age, I think, right now, right? Stability and sustainability, as Ingrid mentioned earlier, become some key elements. And part of that is, being able to deploy great communication strategies along the way.
I'd like to hear, and Rob, I promise I'll be really super quick because I want to turn it over to Jovan. I know he's got stuff to cover. But I'd like to hear back from folks. What do you guys think about our communications capabilities, at least from the point where we were at least 6 months or a year ago? Okay.
I think that's great.
Sorry, was that a question for me?
It's just an open question to everybody.
I think we've made leaps and strides from where we were about a year ago, including some of the connections we now have with the. Did you mention our connection with Fox as well as NBC?
Yeah, so the vice president of Fox Communications is actually on our communications team. He's volunteered. In fact, I'll tell you an interesting part of that story. He shared with me that the reason he wanted to participate, because you wonder why would somebody at that level want to participate in a volunteer capacity, and he talked about making an impact. He said, in his job, the news industry, it's a big industry, but he felt that by working with us, he could make an impact. And I was like, well, we could use the impact. So absolutely. And then we have CNBC will be covering Government Blockchain Week for the whole week. So we're also reaching out to other members of the media. We'd love to have a full suite of media participants, including the major networks, plus the blockchain cryptocurrency places, and the fintech, and print, television, radio, and social media. So
yeah, by the way, Robert, just to answer your question, I posted links inside the chat room right now directly to platoblockchain.com. You're more than welcome, everybody, to test drive it. We are putting a gating system on the subscription in the next couple days, but there is a really powerful freemium model here as well that is related to news intelligence and so forth.
Cool.
Gerard, would you mind copy and pasting that over to the auditorium chat?
I'll take care of that in just a moment. All right. So if there are any other questions or comments, otherwise we're going to turn it over to, I guess, who are we turning it over to, Rob? Jovan?
Yeah, we need to turn it over to Jovan. He's